Welcome back to IT Management. Today we're going to do something just slightly different, and this is more for people who would like to be a manager. And this is how to actually ace an interview for a job as a manager. There are a lot of videos out there on this, and a lot of them I watched through over the last couple of days as I was thinking about this video. And truth is, most of them aren't really going to work. There's too many of them that I saw, at least, say 7 tips for acing your management interview. 11 questions you have to be prepared for. 13 questions you got to be prepared for. Management interviews, there's 2 problems with that. Management interviews usually don't work like that. They're usually more of a casual conversation. They want to find out more about you. So the people hiring managers are always above managers. There may be one manager there, but usually the directors and VPs. So you're not going to fool them with a couple questions you prepared on the internet to get this job as a manager. They're going to see right through that. And even if you do answer them well, if you prepared without context of why you gave that answer, it can really blow up in your face. There's nothing's going to be worse for you than you give what you think is this great answer, and the person interviewing you says, "What do you mean by that?" If you don't have an answer, you're in a pretty bad spot there. So I would be really wary of those, especially ones with the guys that are real high energy. And I'm sure those fellows and women that do this are really good salespeople, but that's not what people are looking for in managers. It's more than likely it's just going to be a narrative. They're going to ask you some technical type skills about what you do and what you know to just make sure you have an idea of what's going on. But there's something that they're really looking for that you want to bring if it doesn't go there, you want to bring the conversation around to. The one thing they want to know out of you, from you, and the one thing they want to be convinced of, and that will get you the job as a manager, is you are able to tell them, when my feet hit the floor in the morning, I know what my job is as a manager, and it's to get things done. That's what the hiring people want to hear from you, is that you know how to get things done. And if it delves into that, don't fall back on, well, we use Kanban boards and we use Scrum, and that's a process to manage a project and see where it is. But that in itself does not get things done. That's not your system for getting things done. That's the process. There's a big difference there. So you have to have an underlying foundation of how you implement these different project methodologies. And that system usually should be pretty simple. It's you hire good people, you retain them, you empower them, and you motivate them. And any fool can motivate by beating the heck out of people. Fear is an excellent motivator. The problem with fear as a motivator is it's short-lived. So that's not going to work. That's why I always go back to don't let your environment get contentious. Well, sure as heck, if I believe that, I don't think you should be the one making it contentious. So you always want to add that in your interview, that is you can get things done without browbeating or micromanaging all the time or scaring people to death. Because that'll just result in turnover, and then you lose institutional knowledge, and your department, if not your company, will crash if that goes on long enough. And I've seen that happen. It does. There are managers who are very successful for sometimes a few years by managing that way. But eventually it's going to fall apart on you. You lose key players. Now, there is one question that you should be prepared for that does come up from time to time in interviews, fairly often actually. And that is, what is your management philosophy? Well, that goes right back to the first part. Your philosophy as a manager has to be, again, getting things done. And part of getting things done is what are your steps to doing that? And that's where the system comes into play. That really, no matter what kind of management job you have, that's all you have to have fully set to ace that management interview. Now, again, if you've managed infrastructure people for 10 years and you're trying to get a job as a manager of developers, that's a tougher road. You have to have, in the technical world, a little bit of understanding of what's going on at a bare minimum. And that's usually not enough. You should be expert. If you're trying to get a job as a manager of developers, you should have a skill set in development. It might just be you're a good Python coder, and that's enough. That's enough if you can understand what the other skills are. But again, your philosophy is get things done. And I always say, I don't know if this is a good analogy or not, but get things done without running the ship into the shore. In other words, without messing things up or having contention in your environment or anger, people that are mad at you all the time. Getting things done smoothly. So what does that really take? Discipline. And discipline is not staying on tasks that you like to do. It's staying focused on things you don't necessarily like to do. So you might not like having these short sprint meetings or even making phone calls to people when something's going wrong on your team. That's what you got to be disciplined about. When things aren't getting done, too many managers run to the project manager. The project manager is not the whip driver here. That's not what's going on. They're managing what's going on through the project. If something comes up, your project manager isn't probably skilled or educated enough or expert enough in the tools to say, oh, well, we should change this class here and add these three. That's not going to happen. That's the stuff you got to work for through getting things done. So let's wrap this up quickly. With your job interview as a manager, be comfortable and calm and expect a narrative interchange more than a coding challenge. Here's 7 code examples. Go into it with, I think I'm going to have to talk for a half hour to an hour. That's one. Go into it that mindset. Number 2, people hiring managers aren't stupid. They're at the top of their game. Don't try to use these tricks or whatever you see on these videos to answer a question a certain way. Or the worst was there was a lady going around, or a guy or something a couple of years ago about fake it till you make it. That was the dumbest thing I'd ever heard. It never works. That will work just as long as the person you try to fake it to is competent. So don't try to do that. Third, and the philosophy, the wrapper is always, I am passionate about getting things done. Because really, as a manager, that's my job. There's a lot of soft skills that go into management. Hiring people, firing people, these are all important skills. Getting things done isn't right here. It's way up here. You're managing projects. You're managing people. You're managing an environment. All with one end goal, get things done. Obviously, get things done efficiently. Wrap that together in your interview, and you won't need to memorize 30 questions that might come up that you really aren't going to answer as well as you think. Get those 3 things down, and you'll have success in that interview. Hope you enjoyed this one. A little off topic because mostly we're geared towards people that are already managers. But a friend of mine reached out to me and said, you know what you should do is do a video on how to get a job as a manager in the first place. And I thought that was a great idea. So in a subsequent video, it's not the next couple, but if you hit the subscribe button, I'll send out a notification when this one's coming out. And this one is going to be, how do you go from a worker to a manager? And there's a very tried and true method to get that done. Again, thanks for watching. I'm Eric Gurr, and we'll see you on the next one.